I am Ross Hawkins, the Director of the Academic Advising and Transfer Center. This form is Advising Language Learners, the Basics and Beyond, presented by Dr. Jason Jolley, who's the Associate Dean and Department Head for Modern and Classical Languages. Dr. Tonia Tinsley is also here, an Associate Professor in the Department of Modern and Classical Languages, and Kelly Schindler, Coordinator of the Foreign Language Institute. I am so happy that you are with us today to present this information. Again, welcome everyone to this advisor forum, and I will turn it over to our presenters.
Yes, thank you everybody for being here today. My name is Tonia Tinsley. We are going to start with just introductions so that you, briefly, so that you know who is who. I know you can see our names on the screen, but for the purposes of the recording. My area of specialization in the department is teacher certification, and my language is French, although I do advising for all the languages in the department because of the teacher certification piece.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Jolley. I am the head of the Department of Modern and Classical Languages. I'm also a professor of Spanish and a part-time associate dean in the College of Arts and Letters. Happy to be here.
My name is Kelly Schindler. I'm the coordinator of the Foreign Language Institute and a teacher of German.
Okay, so also for the purposes of our recording today, we have kind of divided up the work, although each of us will jump in at different moments to provide things that maybe one of our co-presenters unintentionally left out. But we wanted to start today with the departmental overview. So the bullet points that you see on the screen are what we're going to talk about. We're going to go through the languages offered, prior language knowledge and placement, undergraduate major, and the minors and certificates that we have at the undergraduate level as well. We also have a graduate program, and within that graduate program, there are degrees and certificates. We're going to briefly talk about the MCL partnerships that the department has. The next slide is possibly my favorite, just because I like the title. And so we're going to talk about language perks. You know, why should students do it, even if they don't have to? We should all, explore a little bit. We would be remiss to exclude education abroad because our students participate in that wholeheartedly. And then we'll finish out talking about the courses at the Foreign Language Institute, a new program of scholarships and awards that we have. And if we have time, we'll go through some case studies. Sort of your question comes to student comes to you with a question, and what are you going to say? But hopefully we'll get there. So on the screen now, you can see the languages that we offer. We have sort of divided them up, which is why there's a little bit of repetition, because some of the classes take place at the FLI location downtown, and some of them happen in Saislip Hall. So within the majors, we have ancient Greek, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, Latin, and Spanish. And then on the, sorry, I should have said majors and minors. And then in the column on the right-hand side with the Foreign Language Institute, you'll notice that some of those languages are what we call less commonly taught. So that includes the Arabic, the Hindi, the Swahili, Russian, Portuguese, Kurdish, and Korean. We have Mandarin Chinese. There's no Cantonese that I know of, and Japanese and Italian there as well. So this is the key piece of information that we would like for you all to take away. We recommend, and we will always recommend, that any student who wants to study language should start immediately. They should never postpone language learning. This is true for several reasons. The first one is, if they have any knowledge that they bring in from high school, we don't want them to lose it. We want them to keep it and build on it. The second reason is a lot of the language classes are taught in a sequence. So if the student sits out a semester, they might in actuality be sitting out an entire year, because the 101 or the 201 that they would place into will only be offered in a fall semester. So it's very, very important. If they are interested in taking language for whatever part of their degree program or studies that they have expressed, please encourage them to get in touch with the department. And so the email address will be in the slides, but our admin assistant is very good about forwarding messages to faculty members who can directly answer questions. Okay, so your student has come to you and has expressed this desire to take a language. So the first place that they need to start, if they took any language in high school, they need to take the placement test. There are some things to know about the placement test. They can do it very easily. It doesn't cost them anything. They can take it on a cell phone. It is really short. It is also adaptive. So the questions on it might get more difficult, the more questions that the student answers correctly. Okay, so there is a link. It is on the link to it is on the website. They do have to create an account, but they can create the account just prior to taking the assessment. They don't have to wait 24 hours or anything like that. I will say as well that they can only take the placement test one time without special permission from the department. So they really need to prepare themselves a little bit, be in a quiet place when they go to take the assessment. Students who score highly on the placement test will receive an email from MCL, and they will be directed towards a particular faculty member within the department based on a score, and that faculty member will either instruct them to make an appointment or give them some information based on the score that was reported. With the retroactive credit policy that we have, if a student gets a B or better in the class that they place into, they will receive retroactive credit for the courses preceding that one, right? Preceding that one, as long as they apply to the department, right? So the applications for the retroactive credit, they have to request it. Those need to be made in person at the departmental office in CISLIP 223. I think that during COVID, everything that's changed, some of that can be done by email, but that's a temporary thing with the admin assistant. So the best thing is to have them stop in, and she'll take care of that. So the other thing to know for this is that students who intend to major or minor in a language program, we have set minimums, and well, not minimums, we've set maximums of credit for what they can get. So if they're going to major, they can receive a maximum of 12 hours of credit. And for all other students, the limit is 6 hours. Okay, the other situation that we get frequently with students coming in with language credit is the dual credit students. So if your advisee has taken dual credit language courses, the courses should be on their MSU transcript. If they were taken through another institution, then the student should have a transcript from that institution sent to admissions for evaluation and application to the transcript. So I'm just going to reiterate here that the language courses are taught in a sequence. So the advising piece that the department will do with students who come in with dual credit is very important, because if they are out of sequence at all, we can advise them based on an interview to perhaps go one level up, but we really need to have that conversation. We don't want them to sit out a semester. That's like one of the worst things they can do. They need to be in the class. So if they have prior language knowledge, ask them if they want to go on. Okay, and the last one that I'm going to talk to you about today is the SELA biliteracy. Now, this is a relatively new program. It's been approved at the level of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed for K through 12 learners. It's been in place since 2017. For this, we use our credit for prior learning. So we have identified nationally normed assessments that and language learning programs that we accept to award credit for prior learning for students. The most common for the SELA biliteracy that we see are the IB, the AP, the Apple test, and the Stamp 4S. Now, in some situations with the SELA biliteracy, we have students who come in as heritage speakers of a language that might not necessarily be available in any of those recognized assessments. There is a process for the SELA biliteracy at the state level to award that. So again, the conversation needs to happen in our department so that that student can be advised on what to do. Now, for the students where the Apple and the Stamp 4S exist, which is most of the students, I'll be honest, it's French, German, Spanish, Japanese for some students, right? Mostly in the state of Missouri, and Mandarin. So the student needs to submit a copy of the official score report to admissions for the credit to be evaluated and applied. If all they submit is a transcript that just has the SELA biliteracy sort of stamp on it, that's not enough for them to actually have the credit for prior learning assessed and applied to their transcript. They need the score report. Okay, that's really very important because we have also set levels with the state for different benchmarks for numbers of credit hours. So it's very, very important. And this isn't the last time that you'll see the tip on the bottom of the screen. Languages, again, they're taught in a sequence. We really need to have that conversation with the students so that they can be placed. So please help us do that.
All right, Dr. Tinsley, was I going to take this one or did you want to handle it?
Oh, I believe that you could probably speak to this one a little better, Dr. Thank you, though.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everybody. Thanks to everyone for being here. Again, for those who came in a little bit late, my name is Jason Jolley. I'm the head of modern and classical languages and a professor of Spanish. Great to see some folks from my own department here as well. If you guys want to jump in at any point, feel free. All right, let me see. And if anything comes up in the chat, if anyone needs to interrupt us at any time, if Ross or anyone else just wants to let us know, because we're not really moderating that as we go. So I want to make you something. This goes along with what Dr. Tinsley was just saying. Incoming students, how we try to place them. Our general philosophy in the department is to recognize student learning, to reward that learning, to meet them where they're already at, and to place them as high up in the sequence as possible. So often we will have heritage learners of Spanish or other languages, native speakers, or other students who may have gained advanced proficiency through different means. Maybe they had a missionary experience or something like that. We've designed an accelerated pathway to, as the name implies, accelerate them through the minor, an undergraduate certificate, or a major. And the way this works is if somebody receives an especially high score on our placement exam that Dr. Tinsley was just mentioning, they will get an email from us inviting them to take another assessment. If they do well on that one, it's an assessment of their oral proficiency. Then we place them as high as our first 300 level class. If they should pass that class with a B or better, consistent with our retroactive credit policy, they can finish the minor with just that class and 2 additional classes. So a student can minor by taking just 3 classes because they've already demonstrated that they have appropriate and adequate levels of proficiency to test out of our classes. So that's the accelerated pathway. We don't want to profile our students, of course, ethnically or racially, but if you perceive a student's talking about their background and they grew up, for example, just to give one example, they grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, even if languages are not on their radar, they may be in the College of Business or Health and Human Services, you may want to mention to them the possibility of this accelerated pathway because they could add a minor or an undergraduate certificate quite quickly. Okay, all right, next slide. Speaking of pathways, this is sort of a chart, and this is on our most recent brochure that we use to explain to students kind of how our language program is designed to sort of be stackable, right? Our current marketing campaign is explore languages, right? And so the 101 and 102 levels, that's where students start to explore. They take an additional 18 hours. Yep, that's nothing. They've already got the minor. And then at that point, they may consider adding 5 additional courses to get the major. So this is what often happens with our students who, again, it's usually a progression and combination. A student comes in, they take the placement exam, or they have dual credit. We show them how close they are to a minor. They may have a completely different major, and we love that. So they're a psychology major or a biology major, but we will show them, we will talk to them about how, okay, you're 2 courses away from the minor after this course. If you did a summer study abroad or a semester abroad, it would be super easy for you to major or double major. So this is just a simple chart that we use at events like Majors Fair or the showcases, recruitment events, to show students kind of where they're at, where they might be placed, and then what their paths are from that point. Next slide. Okay, so this is our major. And I would say sort of the takeaway for this group is that we have one major. We've a few years ago, we sort of combined or consolidated our different majors. We had 3 majors each in Spanish, French, and German. We had a BA, a BS, and a BS Ed in those languages. And we decided to consolidate those into a single Bachelor of Science in Modern Language. So basically the way it works is students complete a 33-hour emphasis in a single modern language. And then if they're doing the non-comprehensive version of the major, they can add a minor or another major. Or if they want to do our comprehensive major, we have built-in options in translation, applied business. And of course, we do offer as one of the options K-12 Missouri teacher certification in the languages you can see at the bottom of the slide there. Another important thing for this group, any advisors, whether you're a SOAR advisor, you work in the Office of Advisement and Transfer, or you're an advisor in another department, is if a student on some of the Missouri State websites, if a student looks for a major, Spanish, French, German, they may not find it because the name of our major is not BS in Spanish, BS in French, BS in German, BS in Chinese. The name of our major is the Bachelor of Science in Modern Language. So the important thing for students who may be prospective students or have that high school experience and may want to add a major is for you to say, yes, there is a Spanish major. Yes, there is a Chinese major. Yes, there is a French-German major. It's called the Bachelor of Science in Modern Language, and that's your concentration. Okay, next slide. We also, of course, offer several minors in the different languages you can see on the slide here. In fact, I would probably dare to say that modern and classical languages, although we're not in the top 5 across campus in the number of majors, right? We probably are in the top 5 across campus in terms of minors. And it's a real pity that this is not a metric that the university uses, but because our students find minors super important, right? And so we have hundreds of minors in our language programs. We also have just added some undergraduate certificates. You can see some of those on the screen: French communication, French for the professions, French translation. And those are proving to be very, very popular as well. I think probably all of you who do advising, and I saw this at the Majors Fair last week, students are a bit confused about what an undergraduate certificate is and how that's different than a minor. And so some interesting conversations there, maybe a topic for another day. But what you can see with our certificate is we are definitely making some adjustments in our curriculum to make it more relevant to today's students, hence the French for the professions, French translation, Spanish for the professions. And those 2 communication certificates are, I believe, just 12 to 15 hours. So that starts at 101, goes through the 202 plus the conversation course. So fairly easy for students to complete those certificates, especially if they have some previous experience. All right, next slide, Kelly. And as most of you probably already know, there are a few language requirements across campus, although not nearly enough for a university that touts as one of its pillars cultural competence. I'm just going to put that out there to this group and hope you guys will spread it far and wide. Any Bachelor of Arts student needs to complete 12 hours in a single modern or classical language. Okay, we don't enjoy or really condone granting many exceptions to this. And so one thing that this goes back to what Dr. Tinsley was saying earlier about the importance of not delaying students' language study. If you have that student at SOAR and they say, I want to do a BA, they should be taking that 101 class or that 102 class their first fall semester, no exceptions. Okay, so if there's any concern or doubt about that, give me a call, because I'm always our department's designated, contact person during SOAR. Of course, the Global Studies program here at Missouri State University, there is a language requirement for that of 18 hours or 12 hours beyond the normal BA requirement. International business majors have to complete 12 credits of one language. And there's also a 6-hour requirement for music performance majors. Again, very important if you're advising students in one of these programs that they don't delay their starting their language study. All right, Kelly, next slide. I did want to mention, although maybe it's not as important for this particular forum, we do have a graduate program as well. Master of Applied Second Language Acquisition, offered in partnership with our colleagues in the Department of English. So this is an interdisciplinary program focused on language acquisition, linguistics, and second, third language pedagogy. So it's not a traditional MA in Spanish or MA in French. So it's for students interested in teaching languages in many contexts, although it's not a K-12 certification program. So if you have a student that just seems to have a knack for languages, or says that they're interested in language teaching or linguistics, you might just refer them to our department, because we also offer an accelerated pathway or an accelerated master's in this program. We support our students with graduate assistantships, and those students end up teaching our lower level Spanish and French classes. We also have graduate certificates in French and Spanish. All right, next slide, Kelly. Finally, since this is a question that all of us probably get typically in our advising sessions, I know I get it at SOAR, I get it when I meet with prospective students on the campus visit program. Everyone wants to know, what can my son, daughter, brother, right, partner, what are they going to be able to do with a language if they major in a language, or whatever the major happens to be in your respective programs. We're telling parents and students, prospective students, that our graduates are doing all sorts of things with a Bachelor of Science in Modern Language. You can see some of the different professions, having polled our alumni, right? Of course, they're out there teaching languages, teaching different things, training. Some of them work in the language services industry as translators, interpreters, editors. They have small businesses. They work in business, they're in IT and customer support, in the medical profession. There's several that gravitate toward law enforcement, national security, and other public sector segments. And then public relations, and of course, being proficient in more than one language can help you in the hospitality area. We like to say, not just being bilingual, because just being bilingual, I shouldn't say just being bilingual. That's amazing for people who are bilingual or multilingual. I can see several of you on the screen. But more important than simply being bilingual or multilingual is having trained and having strong communication skills orally and in writing in those different languages, knowing how to communicate in different types of contexts. And that's what we do here in modern and classical languages. All right, Kelly.
So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about MCL partnerships and some more slides after this. We have a partnership with the English department to offer the MASLA, which we've just spoken about. We also have a partnership with the Office of Education Abroad. This is to encourage directors to include language study programs, and also to ensure that language courses are transferred smoothly when students study abroad. MCL also partners with international programs to offer the Foreign Language Institute, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Here's our language perks slide. So we offer free tutoring in French and Spanish. There are also multiple events through MCL. This includes weekly polyglot hour. So if you are ever wandering around Seislif on the first floor and you see a giant group of students in the Seislif library, that is because these students gather weekly to speak Spanish, French, and other languages as well. They're also making connections with one another, playing games. So you're always welcome to stop in and speak with them. This is open not just to students, but faculty, staff, even community members. If you know someone who wants to practice, just send them in there because it's good for us all to practice language. We also have a Day of the Dead festival and Chinese New Year. Those have been postponed due to COVID, but please check out the website to make sure that you know when they are going on. We have International Friends as well. So International Friends is a partnership between international students and then US students, staff, faculty, and community members. So students who want to join International Friends can specifically request an international student from a country that speaks the same language that they're learning, so that they're not just forming a bond and learning about culture, but also getting to practice language. And then there's a language certification program available for students who already possess advanced proficiency in a language, and they can receive a digital badge and a notation on their transcript if they complete a proficiency assessment. Here's our education abroad slide. So MCL faculty offer short-term faculty-led programs to immerse student in language and culture. This also helps students fast track a major or a minor in a language, especially if they come in with prior credit in a language. So you can see an example of some of our May and June programs that we offer. Some programs are a week and a half long, some are as long as 5 weeks. Sometimes students live with host families or in a hotel together practicing language. It's pretty exciting. There are also semester and year-long programs available through the Office of Education Abroad, and students can meet with the advisor there to talk about what works best for them. The Foreign Language Institute offers the less commonly taught languages. That includes Arabic, Chinese, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, and Russian. And in the last couple of years, we've added Hindi, Swahili, and Kurdish as well. Typically, students begin with a 101 class in the fall semester and then follow that sequence. So 101 in fall, the third level, 201, is also typically offered in fall, and then 102 and 202 are typically offered in spring. Some 101s and 102s are also offered in the off semester, so it pays to check out that sequence for students. We have not offered 201 in an off semester, same with 202. So you'll want students, if they're going to start with a third level, to start in a fall and a fourth level in the spring. These courses are offered, if they're offered seated, web conference, or blended, either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. Some 4-credit courses are even offered online, and all of these courses are offered as 3 credit hours. You may know, you may not, that the FLI also partners with Baptist Bible College, Evangel University, Ozarks Technical Community College, and Southwest Baptist University, so that students from those universities can come take classes at Missouri State in the Foreign Language Institute, which allows students from all over to learn language. We also offer non-credit courses. These courses are courses for travelers, so that adults can learn words and phrases that they might need to navigate a country successfully if they're going for a shorter period of time. And these are open to total beginners for languages. So if you know of a student who was thinking of studying abroad, but they've never had a language, and in that country another language is spoken, or if you know of somebody who has a work trip or a missions trip, or they're just completing a project abroad, you might want to recommend this for someone. Even vacations, if you're going on a vacation, we offer these courses to students, faculty, staff, and community members. So anyone can take them. There's no homework, no textbook, no pressure. It's just for fun. We also have non-credit courses for children. So we have summer language camps. We were able to offer these very successfully for 3 years, and then we've had a little delay due to COVID. We have offered before Chinese, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish, and these camps are 1 week long. They're offered for 6 to 9-year-olds and 10 to 14-year-olds, and students paint, play games, sing songs, make food. They speak in the language and learn about festivals and other events. The cost is $75 for a week. lunch is not included, scholarships are available, and we hope to continue offering the camps in the future.
Okay, so thank you, Kelly. We're going to transition back to the MCL scholarships and awards question. So we all know that our students are looking for more and more financial support as they're going through they're pursuing their education. So MCL is really, really happy this year to be rolling out over this academic year a new set of financial awards. You can see the details on the screens. We've divided it into students who are pursuing the undergraduate and graduate certificates, majors, the SELA program, and Foreign Language Institute. There, you can see on the screen, we're going to do 5 majors over the course of the academic year, will be awarded $1,000. 2 graduate certificate earners will be awarded $1,000. So, etc. The way that this is going to work, though, is it doesn't work through the scholarship manager and that one universal form. There's a separate form that the student needs to fill out, and it is posted on the MCL scholarships page, along with details for each of the awards. It's an Office 365 form. It shouldn't take that long for students to complete. So if you have an advisee who is already pursuing a certificate or who is a double major, if they bring up the question of financial support and scholarships, it's very important. We wanted to make you aware that this is brand new. And I'm the contact person as I'm the chair of the new committee. So if there's ever any question about any of these awards, you can see my email on the screen, tetinsley@missouri-state.edu. We also have some awards set up for SELA biliteracy and dual credit students. We are working on finalizing those and getting those posted. So they will not be posted yet. Okay, next slide, please.
So on this slide, you can see the contacts for the department. So we have the contacts listed for the SELA, the accelerated pathway, education majors, Spanish and French certificates, classical languages, Asian languages, individualized majors and minors, or any adjustments in language requirements, and also any other questions. So we try to meet all of the needs that anyone might have on this slide, but if you have additional questions, you can just contact mcl@missouri-state.edu.
Really quickly, thank you, Kelly and Tonia. There's a question in chat from Kelly Wood to Tonia. She's asking, how are the scholarships awarded? Is it to the student account or a check to the student, etc.?
So those awards go through financial aid. So they would be posted to the student's account, because they first have to make sure that the way that it was explained to me was that it would meet any outstanding charges that the student had. And then they would work with financial aid after that if there were a remaining positive balance, a credit to the student. But it goes to the student account first. All of the awards have to be approved by financial aid.
So we want to thank everybody for their attention thus far, for hanging with us. And we prepared some case studies, some advising case studies. We thought this might be a good way to get a little interaction going. But before we dive into those, are there any questions about anything that we've discussed so far? Feel free to just unmute and fire away. All right, who's going to? So we're gonna throw out some case studies that you may face as advisors, whether you're a SOAR advisor or an academic advisor in another program or with the Academic Advisement and Transfer Center. Who's going to take the first one, Kelly?
I am.
Okay, Tonia.
Okay, so since I'm the language education person, I deal a lot with the SELA biliteracy. So this one's from me. A student at SOAR tells you they have SELA biliteracy from their high school. And literally most of the time, that's all they'll say. They'll say, I did SELA biliteracy in high school. So what would you advise them to do? I'm going to give you like 2 minutes. You can put your potential answers in the chat. Okay, if it were me, because I don't see anybody typing yet, if it were me, yes, encourage students. So Kimmy Walker, encourage student to send official scores to admissions, contact the department. These are excellent answers. Yes, the first thing is, do they have the score report? If they don't have the score report, the likely person to go to at their high school is the SELA biliteracy coordinator or the counselor. Right? Each one of the schools that participates in the program has to have a designated coordinator for English as a second language and for any of the other languages besides English that they include. It's very important to know that too. And usually the counselor might even send them a screenshot that they will then forward. As long as we have the official score report, we can do something about that. Okay.
Would you like to add any more about that case study?
I would just say really quick that Kristen also had the right answer. Refer them to the Department of Modern and Classical Languages. When in doubt, that works as well. And I just dealt with an email about this very topic this morning, just like Dr. Tinsley was saying. A student that I met at the Majors Fair, she was a little perplexed because she had earned the seal of biliteracy, but it wasn't showing up on her Missouri State transcript. So I said, send me an email, follow up with me. And so today I sent her sort of a prefabricated email that I send in these cases that just says, hey, have someone at your high school send that official score report to the Office of Admissions.
I guess the last thing I would say about this slide is it's important to remember that the SELA biliteracy is open to speakers of any language, K through 12. So you may have a student who has a heritage or a native language that is outside of the languages that are more commonly taught. Like I'll give you an example. Sometimes we have students in the Kansas City area that have a background, a family background and lived experience in Dutch and other really less frequently encountered languages. They really need to talk to the department about what we would be able to do for that credit by assessment case.
And Tonia, if these students want to take language their very first semester, are they able to do so then? If they are, what do they have to do that?
Okay, so that would be part of the conversation with the Modern and Classical Language Department, but what they would, it could be me. I mean, I can be the SELA biliteracy contact. I get those questions frequently forwarded to me from the admin assistant, so it's no problem. But what they would want to do is talk to the faculty member about their lived experience, and then we would look at the SELA biliteracy results. Typically, the SELA biliteracy has 2 levels. There is a regular seal and an advanced seal. The distinguished seal of biliteracy can award the student up to 18 credit hours in a language. So the regular seal typical amounts are 6 to 12 credit hours based on the student's performance on the assessments. So typically, once it's posted to their transcript, they would take the next class in the sequence. Obviously, if they have a distinguished seal, that's a lot more credit and they're much more advanced. And we would like the opportunity to talk to them too about accelerated pathways because they have such a deep knowledge and connection to the language, right, already. So did I answer your question?
You sure did.
Great.
Oh, okay. Um, so this might happen if you're an advisor in the Morris Center or in international services, or just out in one of the many academic departments. Say you have an international student, let's imagine they're from Mexico and they want to enroll in a Spanish course. What are their options? What might you tell them as an advisor? Again, if you want to answer just by unmuting, or if you want to put some ideas in the chat. We've had international students, obviously, from China. We used to have large cohorts from Saudi Arabia. Sometimes we have the issue, right, not 101. Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. I was about to go there, right? Sometimes we'll have an issue where a student, say they're from Mexico or they're from Saudi Arabia. They want to enroll in a lower level class in their own language, you know, for the easy A, or because they have to maintain a certain number of credits to keep their financial aid and this type of thing. So I'm seeing contact MCL to discuss placement beyond the usual exam. Yeah, great answer, Darren. And Anna's saying placement exam and refer them to the MCL department. Absolutely. It's interesting. We have native speakers who will take our online placement exam, and they may or may not place off the charts, surprisingly. Generally, they place very high, right? And they'll qualify for the accelerated pathway, but they don't necessarily place super duper high because they may not have developed certain aspects of their overall communicative competence that they need to place truly off the charts on standardized assessments of language proficiency. But yeah, those are great answers. Refer them to the placement exam, that's on our website, refer them to the department. Great. The important thing is discourage them from enrolling in a 101 or a 102 class for the easy A, or simply so that they can have 12 to 15 hours. Okay, Kelly, let's move on to the next one.
A student tells you they want to take French. They had 3 years in high school, but they don't think they remember a lot and they don't want to take a chance on a higher level. Where should they start? So feel free to either unmute yourself or respond in the chat. Yes, this is excellent. Mandy, Elena, you're right. Carly, everybody, you're all right. You would take the placement test. So the student can take the placement test right then and there just to see what level is best for them. So the placement test takes about 20 minutes and it can be done on a cell phone. So they can just step out for a second, take that placement test and come right back and then be placed in the class that is right for them. Starting over in 101 is pretty sad, really. And I do see some students come through it sore. They didn't even necessarily tell their advisor that they had language before. But if you do know that they have had some, or if you can stop them before they get ready for 101, they could possibly earn those retroactive credits so that they take that placement test. It shows what the real level that they should enroll in is. And then if they get a B or better in that class, they get those free credits. And who doesn't need some free credits on their transcript? So great job, guys.
Ross, do we have time for one more of these maybe?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So a junior fill in the blank major, we're not singling out any program, could be psychology, biology, or whatever, management major, tells you that they want to add a minor or a certificate in a language, but you're worried that they won't have enough time. Maybe it's a cohort type of program. So that's a legitimate concern, and you should be concerned about time to graduation as an advisor. Absolutely. What could you tell them? In addition to, I'm concerned that you might not have enough time. What could you tell them, I guess? Is it absolutely necessarily true that they won't have enough time? Yeah, thanks, Campbell. Refer them to the MCL and education abroad. Yeah, exactly. Other ideas? Remember, we're about accelerating students through our programs. We're about recognizing students, the proficiency that they may have. Absolutely. Ask if they studied a language before, let them know that they can be placed as high as possible. Great answer, Jeff. He's in our department. Go over the placement policy. Exactly, Darren. Point them to the information so that they can make the choice. I love that answer, Darren, so that they can make the choice. I think that many times, I'm getting my soapbox out from under my desk. I think that many times as advisors, we try to counsel our students, and that's okay to a point, but we don't necessarily know what's best for our students in all cases. And I love the point of giving them the information, pointing them in the right direction for those resources, and letting them decide. I think that's important. Yeah, the what if audit. Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing I would say about, thank you for all those answers. Those are all fantastic. Because like I said, it's a perfectly legitimate concern. You might not have enough time to squeeze in this minor or this certificate in a language. However, there's some follow-up questions you can ask, as some of you pointed out. Do you have previous exposure? Do you have any dual credit, right? Would you be interested in doing an intensive summer education abroad experience? All of those things might place the students a little bit closer to their goal than we might initially think. Very few students, in very few cases, is it appropriate for a student to start in the 101 class when they're a junior and think that they're going to finish a minor. But very few students are going to be in that position. If they're super interested in the language, let's say it's Korean and they want to do a personalized minor, 9 times out of 10, that person has been watching hundreds of hours of Korean soap operas on Netflix, and they'll do pretty well when they have an individualized placement with our Korean instructor. So they're not starting from square one, and nor should they. So, okay.
Okay, I think there is one more case study. Yep. So you have a student who is a double major in a language. Their courses are not showing up on their degree audit. What should you do? So again, if you want to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, that would be great. Yes, the MCL advisor. Great, excellent. Thank you so much for those, because if you go into advising notes and you see that your student does not have an advisor in the MCL department, I am sure that you tell them this, but this really needs to be stressed to them, because all of the language courses, we have a process to enter those onto the degree audit so that they count towards the 33 credit hours that the students need to fulfill, right, beyond 101 and 102 for the language core. So if they don't have an advisor in the department, for whatever reason, they get cleared to register, so they don't follow up, they could get to the very end of their studies and they might not have an advisor in our department. And we really, really, really want to see them, because we want them to graduate, and we want them to have a realistic reflection of their progress through their language, their double major. So that part is really important. So I see a question from Kristen. So for the language minors, do the language elective courses have to be manually entered as well? No, the minors they're defined within the catalog, so they get pulled automatically. It's in the majors where it's in the major, because we have that one umbrella Bachelor of Science in Modern Languages, right? The degree audit is not language specific. So that's when we have to enter that information.
That's a great question about the minors, and what Dr. Tinsley said is absolutely right. The degree audit will automatically capture any eligible language class they might take beyond the 102 level. So that's not an issue. There may be a case where a student wants a substitution, right? I took a class in religious studies that was on, Buddhism. Can I count this toward my Japanese, or whatever the case may be? And we're also very flexible department. So if it's an exception, of course, we have to enter that manually.
So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for taking time out of your day during your lunch break to join us and learn more about advising language learners. We have links here for our website, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for both the Modern and Classical Languages Department and also for the Foreign Language Institute. And I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo what many people are thanking. Thank you all for presenting this information today and helping us help students who are interested in languages. We really appreciate you being here. Another quick announcement. I just learned during this Zoom advisor forum that the PDFs for the General Education and Core 42 worksheets are on the website. So they are now available. I mentioned that they would be available by early next week. They are already there. So they got posted today. You will need to download those if you plan to post them in advising notes, but I do think that can be a really great tool, especially with Zoom advising. So again, thank you all for being here. This does conclude our advisor forum for today. I hope I have the opportunity to see many of you again tomorrow from 12 to 1 for our advisor forum on the testing center. Again, thank you, Tonia, Jason, and Kelly for being here. What great information you shared. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye.